The Super Mario Galaxy games are as popular as they are for many reasons. Their well-designed levels, excellent music, and impactful atmosphere perfectly blend into more memorable moments than I can count. Plenty of galaxies exhibit all of these traits and more, but one would be hard-pressed to find one that uses these attributes to leave a stronger impression than Buoy Base Galaxy. Hello everyone, this is V-Man, and welcome to another episode of Into the Galaxy, where we take an area from the Super Mario Galaxy games and analyze it in as much detail as we can squeeze out of it. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy the video. Buoy Base Galaxy is one of the 5 galaxies accessed from the kitchen on the Comet Observatory. It's unlocked by completing the first mission of Beach Bowl Galaxy and collecting at least 30 Power Stars. There are 2 Power Stars to be found in the galaxy, with the first being a yellow one guarded at the very top of the buoy base inside of the Water Sphere planet, and the other being a green Power Star hidden on the underside of the base. Despite its small size, this galaxy is quite intimidating due to how its complex militaristic structure towers over the player. The near-vertical layout of the buoy base, its many moving parts, and the over a dozen unique enemy types all make it tricky to climb for many players, driving home the daunting nature of this galaxy. This is certainly a strong set of traits, but what is it about Buoy Base Galaxy that raises it from just a good level to the beloved icon that it's become? What is it about these strengths that let players remember this galaxy so fondly, and might there be even more to love about this galaxy that even some of its biggest fans overlook? To start, let's look at the obvious. Buoy Base Galaxy is one of the most simple but unique level themes Super Mario Galaxy has to offer, being a fortress floating in a giant bowl of water. It's quite the remarkable image, with the metal reinforcement of the bowl the fortress floats in, the spinning machinery found toward the top of the tower, and the ring of debris orbiting around the base all making the galaxy feel large and menacing without being blown out of proportion. While other similar galaxies like Dreadnought Galaxy may be much bigger, their intimidation factor is brought down knowing that most of the station can't be explored directly. By contrast, Buoy Base Galaxy gives the player a foreboding structure that they know they'll need to climb the whole way manually. This trek is made even more daunting thanks to the large assortment of enemies here. There are bloopers and torpedo Teds protecting the route onto the tower, thwomps and amps blocking the path once you're on the climb, and bomps and various top men threatening a one-way trip back down. In total, there are 17 different enemy types in Buoy Base Galaxy, which helps sell the feeling that this place is heavily fortified and won't let the player through without a fight. The bombastic music certainly lends a hand in this too. The song, which shares its name with the galaxy, makes a dramatic first impression with the now iconic main melody played by a synth, backed up by deep, powerful piano notes. Eventually, a warlike snare drum beat is added on, further adding to the tension the fortress already gives. After a quick break for an eerie synth solo, the song picks up even more, eventually blasting the main melody with trumpets emphasized by crashing cymbals before looping back to the beginning, finishing a dangerous-sounding war cry of a song befitting its namesake. Throw on a simpler, but glittery undersea variant led by an organ and this galaxy goes from terrific to unforgettable. All of what I've just brought up is great, and people already love Buoy Base Galaxy with those aspects in mind. But a lot of players may get so wrapped up in those things that they don't think to ask, what is the buoy base actually meant to protect? Well, the Power Stars, of course, is what you're probably thinking, and that does make sense. After all, the yellow Power Star is locked away safely in the water planet at the top of the galaxy, and the green star is hidden and fortified on the underside where people are less likely to look. However, there's a little more to this that makes stopping at that conclusion questionable. First, the idea that the buoy base is meant to protect the Power Stars feels strange since, based on what we're told at the beginning of the game, the Power Stars are originally from the Comet Observatory, which only lost them after Bowser attacked and scattered them throughout the universe. That would mean that the Power Stars here were only recently found and hidden here, even though the buoy base was almost certainly built long before Bowser did anything, so likely the fortress was meant to protect something else, at least originally. Now, some of you may be thinking that these are simply different Power Stars, meaning that they could have been here longer. I suppose that may be true, but there is another wrinkle in the idea that the buoy base is meant to protect the Power Stars. When you first arrive in Buoy Base Galaxy, there are 2 Gizmos on the starting island. If you talk to them, one of them will tell you this. This here's a floating fortress. We call it Buoy Base. But nobody's using it now, so we're just here for upkeep. The main takeaway from this is that whoever originally built the buoy base isn't around anymore, likely because whatever war the base was meant for had ended. This begs the question, if it's the power stars that were so important to protect, why are they still here if those trying to defend it aren't around? I would assume that either those originally running the buoy base won the war, meaning they would take the power stars with them when abandoning the fortress, or that they lost the war, which would give their enemies an easy opportunity to come and take the power stars. In either case, it seems strange to me that the power stars are still in the buoy base when nobody's using it now, so I believe there was something else that they were trying to protect. But I've been dancing around the big questions long enough, so it's about time I address the elephant in the room. Who built the buoy base? Why did they build it? And where did they go? Perhaps answering who's behind the buoy base can tell us why it was built, so let's look at some possibilities. The first candidates that come to mind are the Gyrmos. It seems likely at first, since we see some of them in this and a few similar galaxies like Battlerot Galaxy. Not to mention they clearly have some connection to the base given that they're here for upkeep. However, I'm not convinced they're the ones who built it. To me, it seems like they're here only for maintenance, either because of their working nature, or because they were hired by someone else to do so. Plus, despite their more hot-headed nature, I wouldn't exactly describe the Gyrmos as the militaristic type, so them being behind the buoy base seems far-fetched. However, there is another group that I think could absolutely be behind the creation of the buoy base. A group that's still present not just in other areas of the game, but in the buoy base as well. That group would be none other than the Top Man tribe. We see the top men in only 4 galaxies in the series, which are Battlerot Galaxy, Dreadnought Galaxy, Space Storm Galaxy, and, you guessed it, Buoy Base Galaxy. They appear quite infrequently, but there is one through line between all of their appearances. It's always in the context of a military base. It seems like the developers made a deliberate choice to tie the Top Man tribe to warfare, especially since their leader, Top Maniac, is the main boss of both Battlerot Galaxy and Dreadnought Galaxy. All of this put together already paints the Top Man tribe as the most war-ready faction in the game, save for Bowser's army, so them being the ones behind the construction of the buoy base seems reasonable. Although, there is one possibility I haven't considered yet. What if the Top Man tribe weren't the ones who built the buoy base, but instead the ones who took it over from another faction? It makes sense, since there must have been one side to build the base for defense against a second group. It makes even more sense when you consider that the Top Man tribe comes off as very aggressive. Not exactly the type to build something defensive like the buoy base. This would also explain why the fortress is abandoned, since the ones in charge of it were, shall we say, driven out. All of that, the absence of this second faction in-game, and knowing how wars often play out does not bode well for who I believe are the true builders of the buoy base. As for why this mysterious faction was warring with the Top Man tribe, what they were trying to protect from them, and how they vanished, we can't be certain, but I do have a theory. Let me paint you a picture. As I alluded to earlier, Buoy Base Galaxy lived up to its name as a military base, probably as a hub for troops and weapons meant to help protect the homeland of this unknown race. In order to fortify the base, they used the 2 power stars still found there. Unfortunately for them, the Top Man tribe was on a rampage, doing all they could to assert their place in the universe, including the total takeover of other factions. Having come across the buoy base and realizing that overthrowing it was their ticket to defeating the entire race of those who built it, they laid siege to the fortress and routed their enemies. After conquering the buoy base, they didn't even bother to take the power stars that were so important for giving the fortress strength. After all, what good are a couple little power stars in comparison to the vast strength of battle stations like the Dreadnought? Instead, they simply continued to crush those who dared stand in their way, leaving no trace of them behind. When the war was over, the Top Man tribe had little use for the buoy base. The area was now firmly in their control, and the troops could be positioned more effectively elsewhere. They didn't want to abandon it entirely, though, as it could still be useful in the future should the need arise. That is why they left behind only a small handful of top men as a skeleton crew, along with some Gyrmos, which are employed by the top men for similar tasks in other galaxies. This leaves Buoy Base Galaxy the way we find it in Super Mario Galaxy, being lightly defended and maintained by a small staff. But in spite of all of this, the Buoy Base was still able to protect the innocent in the end. When we find the galaxy, Bowser is in the midst of creating a suppressive galactic empire, which will put the entire universe in danger. Without the Power Stars, including the 2 hidden in Buoy Base Galaxy, Mario and Rosalina would be unable to stop Bowser from his schemes of universal domination. While it was unable to protect the ones that built it, it could still play a part in defending all the other galaxies. It may be an ironic final chapter in the story of the Buoy Base, but at least its creators can rest easy knowing that their original failure led to the protection of so much more. And with that, my dissection of Buoy Base Galaxy is complete. What did you think of my observations? Do you think I covered everything? Or are there some details I overlooked? Let me know in the comments. I decided to make this video after my previous installment about Drip Drop Galaxy got so much traction. It was really fun to make that video, so I wanted to give it a try with a more beloved galaxy, even if no one suggested this one in my previous video. Even so, if you think there are any other galaxies that warrant a similar deep dive, be sure to suggest them in the comments, and I'll try to cover one of those suggestions next time. And also be sure to leave a like and subscribe while you're at it. With all that said, my name is V-Man, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.